Rambo, Rocky, Sly, the Italian Stallion? Yes, folks. In today's video, we're going to have a look at none other than Sylvester Stallone. His friends really call him Sly, and his wife calls him Stallion. Anyway, over 5 decades, Sly has slugged his way through Hollywood, giving us cinematic gold like Rocky and Rambo, along with a generous helping of head-scratching moments that make you wonder if he's dodging punches or just good advice. From unforgettable roles to decisions that can only be described as, what were you thinking? Stallone's journey is nothing short of a wild ride. Let's get on with it. Sorry to interrupt, but Stallone didn't become a legend by waiting around. So subscribe now and join the winning team. Not so good beginnings. Before Sly became the muscle-bound icon of action cinema, he had a less than glamorous start to his career in a sleazy softcore adult film called The Party at Kitty and Studs, which was later renamed to Italian Stallion. It was the early 70s. Stallone was broke, and sometimes desperate times call for desperate measures. We get it. Every actor has a rough beginning, but unlike most, Stallone has the unique distinction of having his early days immortalized in an awkward adult film. The Botox? Sylvester Stallone's face has been the subject of endless speculation, and for good reason. Somewhere along the way, between playing iconic characters and becoming a Hollywood legend, Stallone decided to take on another opponent, aging. But instead of letting nature take its course, Sly went down the path of Botox and human growth hormones, and the results have been noticeable, to say the least. His once rugged, battle-worn features are now so smoothed over that you can almost hear his skin crying for mercy. Rambo's inability to retire. Rambo, the character who defined Stallone's action career. But like that one guy at the party who doesn't know when to leave, John Rambo just won't quit. After 4 movies filled with escalating levels of carnage, you'd think Rambo could finally rest his weary knife and guns. But no, Rambo: Last Blood hit theaters in 2019, and despite the title, it's pretty clear that Rambo isn't done spilling blood just yet. Who knows? By 2030, we'll probably see a geriatric Rambo using a walker to take out bad guys. Stallone's insistence on keeping Rambo alive is like watching someone refuse to throw out their favorite tattered t-shirt. It might be time, but they're just not ready to let go.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing!
Rocky Balboa. Forever? If Rambo refuses to hang up his combat boots, Rocky Balboa is equally guilty of not knowing when to stay down. The original Rocky was a true masterpiece at the time, an underdog story for the ages. But with 5 sequels, the Creed spin-offs, Rocky seems determined to outlast Father Time himself. The man took more hits than any boxer in history, and yet somehow he keeps coming back for more. It's like watching a boxer fight a never-ending match where nobody rings the bell. Stallone clearly loves Rocky as much as we do, but maybe even the great Balboa deserves to retire and sip protein shakes in peace. The singing debacle in Rhinestone. If there's one thing you can't picture Sylvester Stallone doing, it's singing country music. But back in 1984, someone had the brilliant idea to pair Stallone with Dolly Parton in Rhinestone, a musical comedy that was meant to be a feel-good hit. Instead, it was a feel-bad disaster. Stallone tried to carry a tune with all the grace of a gorilla playing the violin, and the resulting ear-splitting sounds have haunted viewers ever since.
Budweiser, you created a monster.
Hearing Stallone try to hit those high notes is like watching Rocky take one punch too many. It's painful, and you just want it to stop. Yet somehow, Rhinestone happened, and no amount of Adrians will ever make us forget it. The Stallone vs. Schwarzenegger feud. The rivalry between Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 80s and 90s was the stuff of Hollywood legend. These two weren't just competing at the box office, they were waging a war of macho egos. Stallone blamed Schwarzenegger for tricking him into starring in the notorious flop Stop, or My Mom Will Shoot, a role Stallone would probably like to erase from his filmography. They competed in almost every category imaginable: muscles, explosions, and one-liners. While they've since patched things up and even shared the screen in The Expendables, the rivalry remains a fascinating example of how two action icons can be just as dramatic off-screen as on it. The HGH Scandal. Sylvester Stallone's youth-preserving secrets came to light in 2007 when he got caught smuggling human growth hormone, HGH, into Australia. The incident happened while he was prepping for his role in Rambo, and honestly, if you've seen the film, it makes sense. Stallone's physique looked like it could take on an entire army, which, well, is kind of the point of Rambo. But when authorities found his stash of HGH, Stallone had to face the fact that even Rambo isn't above the law. It's one thing to be ripped in your 30s and 40s, but when you're pushing 60 and still looking like a human tank, people start asking questions. Stallone's directorial misfires. Sure, Stallone gave us Rocky and Rambo, but then there were the misfires. Oh boy, the misfires. Let's talk about Staying Alive, the ill-fated sequel to Saturday Night Fever, which Stallone decided to direct. The result? Let's just say that it's a movie that took the gritty realism of disco life and turned it into a spandex-laden nightmare that no one wanted or needed. It's one of those films that's so bad, even Travolta couldn't dance his way out of the embarrassment. Stallone's directing record has some highlights, but Staying Alive proves that maybe the man should stick to what he knows best: blowing things up and mumbling dramatically. That time he was, almost, a Marvel superhero. Long before the MCU became a global phenomenon, Sylvester Stallone was almost cast as Spider-Man. Yes, you read that right. In the 80s, there were talks of Stallone donning the Spidey suit and swinging through New York City. Now, just imagine Stallone's gruff, mumbling voice saying, "With great power comes great responsibility." Yeah, it's laughable. Fortunately for both Spider-Man fans and Stallone's dignity, that casting never happened. Instead, we got Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland, and Stallone stuck to playing characters with names like Rocky and Rambo, because the world was definitely not ready for Stallone in spandex. Expendables sequels that just won't quit. The Expendables franchise started as a fun, nostalgic ride, an action-packed reunion of all the aging action heroes we loved in the 80s and 90s. But after a bunch of those movies, it's starting to feel like an extended retirement party that just won't end. The first film was a novelty, bringing together icons like Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, and more. By the third, it was more like watching a group of granddads try to relive their glory days. And yet, Stallone seems determined to keep the series going, because why stop at a trilogy when you can have 4 or 5 explosive CGI-filled movies that no one asked for?
You're welcome.
The Razzie Award record. In 2015, Stallone made history, though probably not the kind he'd want to brag about. He managed to win the most Razzie Awards for Worst Actor, officially beating out his old rival Schwarzenegger. Films like Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, Driven, and The Specialist earned Stallone a less than coveted place in Razzie infamy. But then again, if you're going to be bad at something, might as well be the best at being the worst, right? At least Stallone can add another record to his long list of achievements, even if it's not one you hang on your wall. Stallone's financial woes in the 90s. You'd think that being the star of 2 major franchises would secure Stallone's financial future for life. But nope! By the 90s, Stallone was reportedly in deep trouble with the IRS. Lavish homes, a series of box office flops, and multiple divorces drained his bank account. Stallone, once on top of the world, found himself in millions of dollars of debt. It's clear that no matter how many victories you rack up on screen, real life can knock you out when you're not paying attention. Stallone may have bounced back since then, but the 90s were not his finest financial era. Stallone's curious eyebrows. Okay, let's talk about Stallone's eyebrows, because why not? It's not like we have anything better to do. They've had more transformations over the years than most actors have had career comebacks. Sometimes they're thick, sometimes they're arched, and sometimes they seem to have a mind of their own, changing shapes as often as Stallone changes film genres. In Rocky, they were practically non-existent, and by the time the Expendables rolled around, they looked like they were auditioning for a role of their own. Seriously, Stallone's eyebrows deserve their own place in Hollywood's Hall of Fame, or at least their own agent. Maybe one day we'll figure out what's going on there, but for now, they remain a curious and ever-shifting part of his legacy. The painting career. Yes, Sylvester Stallone fancies himself an artist, and no, we're not talking about his mastery of cinematic punches. Stallone's paintings have been described as abstract expressionism, which is a fancy way of saying vague splashes of color that sort of look like a battle scene if you squint. His art is praised by some, though it's hard to shake the feeling that people are more impressed by the fact that it's Stallone making the art rather than the actual paintings themselves. If Rambo ever decided to express his feelings on canvas, we imagine this is what it would look like: violent, messy, and a little bit confusing. Relationship controversies. Stallone isn't the only action star who had a famous scandal. While Arnold Schwarzenegger's affair with his housekeeper is more widely known, Stallone has had his own share of relationship controversies. Rumors of infidelity and tabloid stories about secret children have followed him for decades. His marriage to Jennifer Flavin has survived, but not without some highly publicized drama along the way. Stallone might be tough on screen, but real life is messier than any fight scene he's ever choreographed. Being a Hollywood tough guy doesn't make you immune to relationship issues, and Stallone has proven that time and again. Reality TV family cameos. In 2023, Stallone took his family to the small screen with The Family Stallone, proving once again that even the most hardcore action stars aren't immune to the lure of reality TV. Watching Stallone try to navigate fatherhood while still holding onto his action hero image is like watching two completely different worlds collide. The series highlights Stallone's softer side, but let's be real, it's a far cry from the intense, explosive characters we've come to know him for. Turns out, even Rambo has to deal with teenage drama and awkward family moments, and no amount of bicep flexing can save him from that. Stallone and the Popeye arm incident. Even action heroes have their mishaps, and Stallone is no exception. During the filming of The Expendables, Stallone suffered nerve damage to his right arm, resulting in a bizarrely swollen Popeye-like bulge. The injury didn't exactly slow him down, though. It just added another weird chapter to Stallone's already storied career. But really, what's an action star without a few battle scars? Stallone took it in stride, and the rest of us were left wondering if his next role would involve spinach and a sailor hat. Spoiler, it didn't. But the arm incident remains one of those strange moments in his career that just can't be ignored. Judge Dredd. Stallone's 1995 foray into the world of comic book movies with Judge Dredd was, to put it mildly, a misfire. Fans of the dark and gritty British comic were hoping for a faithful adaptation. But what they got was Stallone decked out in shiny armor, delivering campy one-liners like, "I am the law," with all the gravitas of a man trying to sell car insurance.
I am the law!
Instead of embracing the dystopian, morally ambiguous tone of the source material, the film became a goofy, overblown action flick that was more about Stallone's star power than any attempt at honoring the character. The real crime wasn't in Mega City 1, but in the editing room where someone approved the decision to have Dredd take off his helmet, something the character almost never does in the comics. Fans were furious, critics were unimpressed, and the film quickly became a punchline in discussions of bad comic book adaptations. In fairness, Stallone has since admitted the movie was a mistake, but the damage was done. Thankfully, 2012's Dredd with Karl Urban would come along to make us forget all about Stallone's shiny armored misstep, or at least help us try. The over-the-top arm wrestling movie. In 1987, Stallone starred in Over the Top, a film that can only be described as the world's most dramatic take on competitive arm wrestling. Yes, you heard that right. an entire movie dedicated to arm wrestling. As if the premise wasn't bizarre enough, Stallone played a truck driver who enters arm wrestling competitions to win custody of his son. Because nothing says father-son bonding like slamming someone's arm into a table repeatedly. The film tried to combine the high-octane action style of the 80s with heartwarming family drama, but instead it landed somewhere in between so bad it's good and why does this exist? The arm wrestling scenes are unintentionally hilarious, with Stallone grunting and flexing like he's gonna rip someone's arm clean off. While Over the Top has achieved cult status over the years for its sheer absurdity, it remains a shining example of the kind of over-the-top movie decisions that Stallone has made. Let's be honest, nobody watched Over the Top for the plot. They watched it for the spectacle of Stallone turning arm wrestling into a life-or-death struggle. And somehow, we're all better for it. And that's all for now, folks. Sylvester Stallone. Proof that you can mumble your way through a 5-decade career, a mountain of questionable decisions, and even a couple of musical disasters, and still come out swinging.
He doesn't know how to use the 3 seashells.
In Rocky's words, it ain't about how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. So, the next time you're feeling invincible, just remember, if Stallone can change, and you can change, everybody can change. Well, enough of the one-liners. Thanks a million for watching, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more dirt on your favorite celebs. You won't want to miss what's coming next.